Have you ever seen a totally mind-blowing AI demo at your company? The kind that promises to change everything, and then it just disappears? Vanishes without a trace. Well, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the real reasons so many of these amazing AI projects never actually see the light of day. So here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at the staggering size of this failure problem. Then, we'll put on our detective hats and find the real culprit. And trust me, it's not what you think. After that, we'll lay out the 3 absolute keys to getting AI to scale successfully. And finally, we're going to flip the script on how you should be thinking about AI, shifting the focus from just the model to the entire system.
All right, let's just dive right in. The number one frustration we hear about is this massive failure problem. Why is it that so many pilots that look so promising just end up fizzling out?
Get this, the number is 95%. Let that sink in for a second. 95% of AI pilots failed to make it into production. That is a truly insane amount of wasted time, wasted money, and, wasted excitement. This isn't just a small hiccup. For most companies, it's the default outcome.
Okay, so what does that failure actually look and feel like on the ground? What are the warning signs that a project is heading straight for that 95% graveyard? Well, it's a pretty painful and all too familiar pattern.
First, you've got this huge disconnect. On one hand, the data science team is just churning out prototypes like crazy, showing off what's possible. It's fast, it's exciting. But then, when it's time to actually get a decision, a real green light, a budget, any kind of commitment, the entire organization just grinds to a halt. You've got this super fast technology clashing with a super slow business.
And that leads to the next problem. You end up with all these fantastic demos. They look amazing in a PowerPoint slide. Everybody in the meeting oohs and ahs. But there's just no plan, no path to get them integrated into the actual workflows where people do their jobs. They just exist in this little bubble, completely cut off from the business.
And this right here, this is the final fatal blow. The pilot worked just fine in a perfect, clean lab environment, but the second it touches the messy reality of the real world with real people, complicated processes, and actual risk on the line, it just shatters. So, we've seen what happens. Now let's talk about why. And here's the crucial thing. Most companies get the diagnosis completely wrong. The real culprit here isn't what you'd expect at all.
Usually when a project fails, everyone starts pointing fingers at the technology. You hear the same old things, right? Oh, the model's accuracy wasn't good enough, or we just picked the wrong vendor, or, the tools were just too complicated. But honestly, all of that is just a distraction from the real root cause.
Here it is. This is the single most important truth in this entire explainer. The AI itself is almost never the problem. The technology usually works just fine. The real issue is a deep, fundamental misalignment between that shiny new tech and the organization it's supposed to be helping.
Think of it like this. You're trying to put a brand new, powerful engine onto the frame of a really old car. It doesn't matter how amazing that engine is, right? The old, rusty frame just can't handle the power. It's going to buckle and collapse. That's your organization. The AI is the engine, but the organizational structure is the frame, and it's collapsing under the load.
Okay, so if the problem is organizational, it makes sense that the solution has to be too. So let's get to the good stuff, the blueprint for success. The companies that actually break through that 95% failure rate, they don't have better AI, they have a better organization. And that blueprint is built on 3 pillars. And listen, these have nothing to do with code or algorithms. They're all about structure and clarity. You need clear ownership, decisive governance, and an architecture that's actually built for change.
Number 1, clear ownership. And folks, this one is an absolute deal breaker. You need a single person who has the power to make the tough calls. I'm not talking about a committee. I'm talking about one individual who can give a firm yes to go, a clear no to kill a bad idea, and maybe most importantly, a strategic not now to keep things in the right order. Without that, you're just stuck in limbo forever. Second, decisive governance. Now, this is a really key mindset shift. Usually, when we hear governance, we think of some boring compliance checklist. Forget that. Real governance is the living, breathing system for how decisions flow through the company, how they get made, how they get communicated, and how they get done, quickly. It's about movement, not just rules.
And third, you need an architecture for change. Think about your company's systems. Are they like a solid brick wall where you can easily add a new brick without a problem?
Or are they more like a Jenga tower where pulling out one tiny piece makes the whole thing collapse into chaos? Yeah, you want to be the wall, not the tower.
So here's the magic. When you actually get these three things right, the ownership, the governance, and the architecture, it triggers this massive shift. It changes not just your approach, but more importantly, it totally changes your results.
And here is the payoff. Without that solid foundation, the best you can really hope for is automating a few small separate tasks. It's a tiny gain. But when the system is built right, AI doesn't just add value, it compounds it. Every new thing you build makes the last thing better, and you get these incredible exponential returns. So the one thing you should walk away with, the mantra to repeat to yourself, is this: stop obsessing over the model, start with the system that's going to support it. You have to fix the foundation first.
And this whole philosophy, this whole idea of building the organizational foundation first actually has a name. It's called AI Trust by Design. It's about being intentional, about building trust and reliability right into your systems from the very beginning, not just as an afterthought. That's how you create a place where technology like AI can actually succeed.
So I'll leave you with one final question to think about. Take a really honest look at your own company. When a new technology like AI comes along, is your organization built to adapt and handle that change, or does it just descend into chaos? Because the answer to that question, well, that's going to determine your future.